Howdy, folks. I'm Snazzy Sneezewort, snappily sneezing near snoozing speckled snails.
I'm Amber.
And here are more speckled snails for us to snooze next to. So, yeah, let's get started on that. Oh, and folks, we have a live stream coming up on Friday, 6 o'clock p.m. on Eastern Time. So we hope to see you then. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Going to My Boyfriend's Parents' House Without Him After He Refused to Come to a Dinner Where We Were Supposed to Cook for Them? My boyfriend is a 30-year-old male and I'm a 28-year-old female, and we were supposed to cook dinner for his parents tonight since they always host us. Before we left, he asked my opinion on his outfit. I gave it honestly. He didn't like my answer and wanted to change. I told him what he was wearing was fine and we were already running late. Plus, it's literally his childhood home, so I didn't think it mattered that much. He got upset and said that he didn't want to go anymore, put on pajamas, and just went back to bed. I tried to convince him to come since his parents were waiting and we still needed to cook. He refused multiple times. I told him that I would go ahead, assuming that he would cool off and follow. Well, I went to his parents' house and they let me in. I've been over quite a few times. And they asked where he was. And I told them that he was getting ready and would be along soon. I didn't want to throw him under the bus. Well, an hour passed and nothing. I called him and he told me flatly that he wasn't coming and didn't even know why I was even asking. I had to tell his parents that he wasn't coming because he wasn't feeling well. I had brought some groceries over with me and was planning to cook, so they were disappointed and a little worried. Well, when I got home, he asked if I had cooked, and I said no. And he immediately started blaming me for not cooking, for his parents being worried, for his headache, for making him angry and being annoying. I started to leave since he said that he didn't want to be around me. And then he flipped to arguing that I was the one abandoning things and that I have an attitude. I'll admit that I did have an attitude by that point in the day. This isn't the first time that something like this has happened. He asked for my opinion on outfits, and I gave it, and if it's not glowing, he spirals, and it turns into a fight of why he can't dress himself or be confident in what he's in. I left, and I went to the park, and I cried. Edit, he was wearing a green/white striped shirt with black pants. Based on his usual style, I told him that it wasn't really matching. But it's fine because we were going to his parents' house. Am I the jerk for leaving without him, telling his parents he wasn't coming, and going in the first place? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think Opie is necessarily the jerk here, but I do think that in the future, if you know that he is sensitive about his outfits, don't give an honest opinion. Like, it doesn't sound like he was dirty, and I don't know why a green and white striped shirt would really clash with black pants. So, I definitely think he's like the big jerk here because his whole reaction is very over the top,
Yeah.
and then blaming everything on OP. That's not a good way to go. Like, he still decided not to go to his parents, and then gets mad that OP didn't make food for them even though he wasn't even there. He sounds exhausting. But also, OP knows how he is and probably should not make these comments right before they're supposed to go if OP knows that he's not going to be happy.
Yeah, I think couples therapy, maybe breaking up.
Yeah.
It depends on how severe this is, and because some of this that he's doing here is kind of abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, like with abusers, you can't fix things in therapy oftentimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The abuser has to work on themselves and not be an abuser before you can progress in the relationship. So, unfortunately, there may be no choice but to break up in this situation. But at the very minimum, if this is just, an occasional thing where he just doesn't know how to manage his feelings or something like that, maybe he needs to go into individual therapy anyways, and maybe they can go into couples therapy so they can learn how to communicate in a little bit better of a way, right? I think that OP should have probably known, if this is a pattern of behavior on his part, that he sometimes will spiral and stuff like that. And OP should have said, look, I know that you want my opinion, but I think like I'm going to put my foot down and not give my opinion on your outfit because I don't think that it's worth the necessary friction here. I'm going to be honest, and if it's not glowing, then you're going to shut down, and that's not a good place for either of us to be at, right? So I think that he just needs to, I mean, I hate the brutal honesty, type of thing. I don't know if this was brutal honesty or if OP just was like, I think it looks fine. It's not usually, and I don't really feel like it matches though, right? But again, like, I don't know. Some people need to be like, there's always something positive you can say if you don't want to lie, right? And I'm not actually advocating for lying. I don't think that lying is constructive oftentimes, but you can say things like, oh, well, I really like the striped shirt or something like that, right? Or, oh, I think the black pants are a nice neutral color or something like that, right? Like, the pants, they look like they fit you. So I think there's always something you can say positive about an outfit, even if you don't like it. And if your partner wants, affirmation, because sometimes people are just looking for affirmation. They're not necessarily looking for like a positive review or criticisms or anything like that. And I think there's a time and place for constructive criticism, but I also think there's a time and place for affirmations when your partner is feeling insecure. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Offering to Do the Dishes? I'm a 28-year-old male. I went over to my girlfriend, a 30 female's parents, a 62-year-old female, and a 58-year-old male's house for the first time. I've met them before, but either at our place or a neutral setting like a restaurant. Well, we went over for dinner, and her aunt and uncle were there too. I thought that we had a good time, and we even played board games together. The other night, my girlfriend sat me down and expressed doubts about our relationship, saying it seemed like I didn't value family like she did. I was super confused, and I asked her to elaborate. She said that her mother texted her after the dinner being very offended that I didn't ask to do the dishes. I honestly felt horrible for not asking, but I also found myself a little upset. I helped set the table beforehand, and I even asked her mom if she needed anything, and she told me no. It also surprised me because her mom is outwardly very kind, but now it feels fake to me. I told my girlfriend that I would do better, but I still have a somewhat sour taste in my mouth from the situation. My girlfriend values her mother's opinion very highly. So it feels like I need to be extremely perfect or else my girlfriend will want to break up. But I don't even know what being perfect means because now she has this list of hidden rules. Am I the jerk here? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, first of all, I think OP asked if there was anything they could do, and they were told, oh, no, it's fine. OP is not a mind reader. If him doing the dishes was really important, they should have said something then. And I mean, I think it's very common for guests on a first time meeting someone to not be asked to do the dishes, like, again, if that's how they do things in their house, they have to make things explicit, but they can't expect OP to be a mind reader.
Yeah, I mean, every household is going to have different customs and traditions, and guests, oftentimes, if you're a guest in a house, you're not going to be the one who's expected to clean up. And this, of course, if you want to offer to help to clean or something like that, then, the, hosts will often say, oh, no, we've got it or something like that, right? But I think that OP isn't a mind reader. And if the, girlfriend thought that this was important, maybe she should have prepped him and said, oh, by the way, we kind of have a tradition where people help out with the dishes or something like that, right? And I think if she had given that expectation ahead of time, then OP could have still not asked to do the dishes. But I mean, I mean, it at that point in time, like, at least they had the forewarning type of thing, right? So I don't think that OP's in the wrong here. I just think that this is kind of a bad situation. Maybe OP should just break up anyways, because if they feel like they can't do anything right and their girlfriend is always on the verge of breaking up with them, then maybe this isn't the right relationship for them anyways, because that feels very like almost like they're walking on eggshells constantly. And if you're feeling like you're walking on eggshells with your partner, that doesn't seem like a very healthy relationship. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk? I accepted a comped meal and my date thought that I shouldn't have accepted it. So this was a first date and it was a really nice place. It was super slow, so I'm shocked that this happened. But after ordering our entrees and waiting a huge amount of time, finally the manager comes by and profusely apologizes, saying that the chef massively overcooked both of our dishes, and they would remake them and comp both dishes plus dessert on the house. I said thank you, I really appreciate it. But then she, a Russian woman, so this might make more sense, says no, he should pay. The chef then gently says that he won't let us, and she looks at me and said, "You're a man, you pay." The guy was like, "No, it's on us," and walked away. She was actually upset about this, accepting a comp meal. I'm like, I didn't ask for it and they generously offered it. If you want to pay, you can. I was so turned off by all of this that I just called it, but does anyone else agree with her? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, her view here is very antiquated. Like, if she wanted to spend her own money and didn't feel comfortable with that, that's one thing. Some people don't feel comfortable taking free things. Like, recently we went to the library and they were doing a summer reading program and you got a free book. And when Brian realized I was getting my book for free, he's immediately like, "Can I make a donation?" But he wasn't expecting me to pay for the book. He, wanted to contribute something back to the library because I was getting something. So if she had been like, "Oh, no, I insist on paying," that's all well and good. But to be like, "No, OP must pay, he's the man," that is really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of an antiquated type of behavior, and I think that this just shows that OP and this person are not compatible, right? They have different views on the world, and she is welcome to have her views on the world, but that doesn't mean that they are compatible. And so it's good that OP found out on the first date instead of 2 years down the line, right? So I think that OP is fine, and I think it's all right to feel like you're not compatible after a first date, because that's the time to find out that you're not compatible, right? And yeah, I mean, I don't think that OP has anything to apologize for or worry about. They are not in the wrong in this situation, and I think most people would agree with them. But let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, "Am I a Jerk for Kicking Up a Fuss About Vegetarian Chinese Food?" Edit to add, I posted a comment below with the outcome and my reply to some common responses. I'm a meat eater and my girlfriend is a vegetarian, and our friends are both vegan. The friends are my girlfriend's university friend and her newish boyfriend. Because they are some of the only friends that live reasonably nearby, we have been trying to do more things together. The suggestion was made that we go out for Chinese at some point, and I offhandedly said something like, "Oh great, I have been fancying a chicken curry for weeks." To which my girlfriend told me that we're going to a vegetarian Chinese restaurant that the friends have chosen. At that point, I objected that I hadn't even been asked about where I would want to eat, and wouldn't be able to get what I wanted. I'm not a Neanderthal. I cook vegetarian food with my girlfriend often and will basically eat anything. But if I'm going to pay to go out to dinner, I want something that I'll enjoy. I've had veggie Chinese before and it just didn't scratch that itch. My girlfriend basically said, "It's where we're going," to which I said, "Okay, the three of you can go by yourselves then." That's obviously annoying her. I'm not vehemently against going to the restaurant, but my position is that people have different food preferences and we should compromise to accommodate for that. But the friends always get the final word on where we eat. The last time we met up, the two of us wanted to go to an Italian restaurant, but the friends said no because they didn't like the look of the veggie options. Ultimately, I think that we should either, one, take turns choosing where we go, and you might just have to get over it sometimes when it's not something that you would choose. No, I'm not going to choose somewhere that they literally can't eat. The Italian restaurant had veggie options. Or two, we each have veto power, so we all need to agree where to eat. Obviously, one is far easier than two. But I do think that it's unfair that we just have to go along with what they want to do, but can't do what we want to do unless we agree. Does this make me the jerk? Edit add, I'm reading the responses. Just to clarify, I would eat there. I'm not incapable of eating veggies. And I understand that I'm in the minority here. What I have a problem with is that I seem to be the only one willing to compromise. So the follow-up here is, will I be the jerk if I went, didn't kick up a fuss, but in the future chose to go to this Italian restaurant again, which has some veggie options, and basically use this as a collateral of, look, I went to the place that you wanted and ate something that I didn't really care for. We're going to my thing this time. You'll just have to order something that you can eat. All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think OP is being a little rigid and stubborn here. Now, let me ask you for a second, OP. if one of these people had a food allergy, and not like an allergy to the point where, oh, I can't be in the same proximity or I'll die, but like they had a food allergy and you wanted to go to a place where most of the items on the menu had the allergen, would you feel justified forcing them to go to that restaurant? Now, I understand veganism is not quite the same thing, but still, when people are vegan, there are a lot of foods they cannot eat. And just because a restaurant technically has vegan options, that doesn't mean they are good options. If someone has to eat a salad and that's like the only vegan option, that's not a good place to be. Like that was the 90s, the vegetarian option. It was always a salad. And I don't know how many times I went to a restaurant and all I could have there was a salad. And that was not a satisfying experience. So I understand that OP wants to eat at certain places, but surely you and your girlfriend can go to places together without these two people and enjoy them when it's just the two of you, and then go to places that can accommodate these friends when you're with the friends.
So I do think that OP has some points in here. I'm not saying that they don't. And I understand where you're coming from too, because I think like maybe if it's in their budget and they're able to go out without the friends, then it might be a good idea for them to kind of have their own separate date nights where they can go out and try, restaurants, right? I also think like if they're trying to build a relationship with these friends, then it might be a good idea to go to places that they actually enjoy and want to go to. I do get OP's frustration though that it seems like they have the veto power in whenever they want to go to a place, right? So I think like OP's suggestion that they take turns, choosing which restaurant to go to isn't necessarily bad, because it seems like they'll at least get a place 50% of the time that they want to go. And I do think maybe a veto type of thing is also fine, because I understand where if they didn't want to go to a restaurant and they wanted to say, look, no, this is not a place that we can eat and doesn't have food that we can enjoy, then I can see why they would be like, no, we want to veto being able to go there. So either I think you're right in a lot of ways, where maybe there's an opportunity for OP and their partner to go out to a restaurant together as opposed without these friends, if they want to go out and enjoy something without the friends. But I do understand where OP's coming from with the frustration that it seems like they're always the ones to get the last say in where they're going.
Well, but they have a much more restricted diet. And, that's what makes it tricky is like if it's just OP can eat the food at the vegetarian restaurant, but it's not necessarily their favorite, versus these people are stuck with a salad. Like there's a big difference between food that is fulfilling and satisfying, but not my top choice, and a salad, So again, I don't know the extent of this restaurant, but if it is an issue of like there's like one vegan item on the menu, or it's something with mushrooms, oh my goodness, people have certain foods that they don't eat, and like for a long time, like all the vegetarian options were like portobello mushrooms anywhere fancy you went, and it was the worst because I'm not a fan of mushrooms and I don't want to eat stuffed mushrooms. I don't know. I feel like I understand OP's frustration, but it feels like a very vindictive tit for tat. Like, oh, I want to use this as leverage. Like, it doesn't seem like OP is doing this in good faith. It's if you veto I feel like if they do the veto option, then as soon as they veto OP's restaurant, OP's going to veto every restaurant they come up with because it's not the restaurant they want.
Well, and the tit for tat, I do agree, was actually is not a good move here. I do think that could just cause more conflict. And if you're going to be tit for tat with your friends, then why be friends with them at all at a certain point, right? I do think like the being like, oh, well, I went to a place that you didn't like, so you should go to a place that I don't like. That's not necessarily the best view of something like this. I think it's more like you should all be willing to, if you're all wanting to go out, you should all be willing to enjoy each other and, be able to pick places that everyone's going to enjoy and like and have a good time at, right?
Yeah, so maybe work toward a small pool of restaurants, and maybe OP's favorite restaurant won't be in there because it doesn't have enough food that everyone can enjoy.
Yeah.
But come up with a mutual list of places that everyone can agree on.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of what I was thinking too when I was kind of mulling this over, is that maybe they could just have a list of restaurants where everyone is fine with going, and then they can vote before they all go, right? And so,
Or rotate within that list.
yeah, or rotate within that list, because one way that you can kind of help to choose where to go is just say like where everyone is okay with. So, and the one that gets the most votes for the okays is the place that everyone goes, right?
Right.
So,
but I do think that Opie has to accept that their favorite restaurant may be a hard no, and you shouldn't try forcing people into going to it. Like,
yeah.
can you still enjoy yourself at a quote unquote lesser restaurant, or a restaurant you don't enjoy quite as much as the Italian restaurant?
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why are pirates great at shopping?
Because they always find bargains.
That's a great one. They always find the best sales.
Ah, that makes sense. That does make sense. And I have licorice spice. And folks, today is a very special day. It's go out and eat and enjoy your friends and family day. So do that instead of like throwing fits about everything.
The way you said it, it sounds like you're going to eat your friends and family and enjoy it.
There's commas in there. Don't worry. There's some level of punctuation. You get to decide where, though. So don't blame me if things go wrong.
No cannibalism. We do not encourage cannibalism on this show.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy wonderful Wednesday, Hump Day, Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and our guidance, and please have it a haiku for Haiku Wednesday.
Spend your own money, but you can't spend your date's cash. Ditch the gender roles.
I like it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.